It's the 30th, folks. Welcome to FYI. For your information, the month is gone. You got one day left. How are you guys doing out there this morning? What have you guys been up to? You know, they say absence make the heart grow fonder. We've been preparing for the heading back into the National Assembly this morning. There's the scrutiny of the estimates that begins today. The fun part, you get to post questions to the various subject ministers in terms of the line items in those ministries that are gonna attract the budgetary sums. Exactly what this 1.146 trillion dollars is going to be spent on. We got the opportunity to ask them over the next 4 days, folks. It's a little longer because it's a bigger budget. Even though it's only 4 days, we've added extra hours in there to make sure that we can properly scrutinize the spending of the national budget, folks. On your behalf, of course, Rastaman and Yolanda, Debbie Collins, Vanilla Garnett, and Camille Cox, a very good morning to each and every one of you. Lots happening, folks, where we are. We trust that you guys are well, you're fired up, and you are ready to go. Welcome to FYI to each and every one of you. We hope that you guys are off to a fantastic start of the day. Tessa and Margaret, I see Yonit is here. Claire Alexis Tromley Richmond is here as well. Loretta Argyle is here too. P. Alicock, good to see you. P. Alicock, happy to have you here. Tessa, as I said, and Debbie Dolly. Andrew Griffith, good to have you folks here. We got a lot to share with you folks as we head into this morning's program. Good to see all of you pouring into the live. Kyle is here as well. Kyle Bino and June Chase. Veronica Primo Rollins is here as well. And Onika Light, great to see you as well. Thanks for joining us, folks. The first 15 things I don't know about, well, Mark Phillips ran out. We got to run it back. It's just the way things got to be. The first 15 things, Dolly and Vesta Hardy, Rajkumar, the first 15 things we think you ought to know about as we start the day today. Yeah, the first 15 things. Mark Phillips ran out to say that Guyana will not rely solely on oil and gas to propel development. Take that in. Take it in, folks. It will not solely rely on oil and gas. But is it too late for that? Isn't it a little too late? Isn't it a little too late? Well, those are the questions that you're asking this morning. Folks, share the live as you come on. Smash that emoji button as you come on, folks, as we want as many persons as possible to receive valid and credible information. And wherever you're joining us from, folks, welcome. Well, I'm going to give you guys a sec or two to share the live and to smash that emoji button, folks. We are just a few minutes in. For those folks who are now joining us, you ain't missed nothing yet. We're about to get into it, and good to see Redmond Alexis. I ain't seen in a long time. Good to have you here with us, and all the other folks joining us from across social media. Good to have you here. Michaela Andrew Coates, good to have you here as well. And folks who are now joining us on the other pages, great to see you. Fantastic folks on here with us. Yonit Elias, Laverne Wade, good to see you. The mother-in-law is watching, folks. Great to see you there, folks. And as I said, we're already there. They're promising a non-reliance solely on oil and gas. But information we have in hand is already there. It's already there, folks. Don't take my word for it. I want to give you the honorable folks, Volan Lawrence, Member of Parliament and former Minister of Health. This part of the presentation that she made in the National Assembly when she spoke recently. This reliance that we now have on the oil sector is holding up everything else. You subtract that, they're in trouble, folks. They will be in some serious trouble. Listen to Member of Parliament Volan Lawrence make the argument on the floor of the National Assembly just last week.
In 2008 budget, it was staying the course, advancing the transformation agenda, while 2012 was remaining on course. Mr. Speaker, the words staying and remaining connote a sense of inertia. While unintended by the minister, one cannot help but feel that we are marking time, staying and remaining in the same place, as money is wasted on a hodgepodge of projects, skillfully being marketed as beneficial to the Guyanese family. Mr. Speaker, I iterate, which Guyanese family? I recall former US President George Bush's cheeky comment on his own administration's budget, saying, and I quote, "It's clearly a budget. It's got a lot of numbers in it." End of quote. And so was the Honorable Minister's 2024 budget speech. It had lots of numbers, and I may add a plethora of prose, but nothing of substance for the Guyanese family, unless, Mr. Speaker, the government is convinced that a budget that does not reduce income inequalities nor contract award inequalities, a budget that does not reduce poverty is a Guyanese family-friendly budget. A lot about growth, but no development. Mr. Speaker, we learned that real growth last year was recorded at a whopping 33%, bringing the average growth rate for the period 2020 through 2023 to an impressive 40%. No other country in the world has grown at this average annual rate over the same period that was marked by the COVID pandemic and the Russian-Ukraine war. That we have been so blessed is due principally to the impact that oil has had on the economy. First discovered in 2015, with first oil production recorded in December 2019, oil has, within the past 4 years, virtually dominated performance of the economy in every metric or statistic considered. For example, oil accounted for 70% of GDP last year, from a negligible 2% in 2019. In terms of export earnings, oil accounted for 88% of merchandise exports, contrary to all the talk about the resilience of the economy. These two metrics prove otherwise. They expose the vulnerability of our economy to the vagaries of the finicky oil market. Mr. Speaker, these metrics show that we have an oil economy and not an oil sector. So we are vulnerable. In spite of the government's rhetoric, in spite of the growth in the size of the budgets, the returns of the non-oil sector appear not to justify the expenditure. There is no transitional development in this sector. It is still transactional, meaning import-based and not export manufactured based. For example, notwithstanding the huge investment made in the sector over the past 3 years and similar investments budgeted this year, the share of the agriculture sector has declined from 25% in 2019 to 8% in 2023. This calls into serious question issues such as the productivity of expenditure, the quality of expenditure, and the roles being played by policymaking, graft, and misappropriation. In 2008 budget, it was staying the course, advancing the transformation agenda, while 2012 was remaining on course. Mr. Speaker, the words staying and remaining connote a sense of inertia, while unintended by the minister.
Yeah, you folks heard that. You folks heard that. The Honorable Valda Lawrence making the point that this is not getting to an oil economy and they're trying to pull it back. We are already there. So when the Prime Minister comes out and said that they will not solely rely on oil and gas to propel development, folks, we turn the corner already. that's the point I think we have to take away here. We've already turned that corner already. Full stop. Done with that. We turned the corner. You hear? You hear me? Oh, vex, vex, we have already turned that corner. Kyle and Tony Fraser, Dolly Anderson, Ingrid Crawford. it is it is what it is, folks. It just is what it is. There's no way to go around that. You know, it just is what it is. Pace, pace and power. Wendell Hudson, good to see you on this morning. Folks, some other things. We're going to circle back to some of that because Ali waded into bauxite. And it's because so much is going down. So many of the other non-oil sectors diminishing under their stewardship. You know, they got to prop up with all of these kind of fluff and bluff statement, but the facts are stubborn things. You see, don't run from the numbers. We can't run from the numbers, and we're going to circle back to some of that. Folks, you're on this morning. Take the opportunity to share the live for us. Dolly Anderson, Angeli Abrams, and Samo Williams. Folks, family, how are you guys doing this morning? We hope that you guys are well. If you're watching us, you're going to come back to watch us as well. Share that live and smash that emoji button. If you're following us on a Facebook page, why don't you follow that page so that you get the notifications when we're on? And especially those of you who are following us on the Tube, our tubers, folks, this is our flagship platform, YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel as yet, right at the top of that channel, you'll see the subscribe button just a little below the blue banner there that says Credible Sources. You're going to see the subscribe icon, or you might see a bell. Ring that bell this morning, folks. And if you're a real super follower, super fan, you know, an ardent viewer of our broadcast, why don't you subscribe to those notifications as well, folks, so that you receive them as soon as we're on. Welcome, folks, if you're now joining us. Look what's happening in the streets out there, you know. We run right now, something might be on fire. We run right now, there might be an accident happening, because while we were on last night, all manner of things transpiring in these streets. These streets, folks, gone dark. Listen to this one. A man carrying a child, a baby, knocked down, folks. You remember the days when you passing a church, people turn down the music, you know, wouldn't to the horn, right? There's a sign of reverence, a mosque, a masjid now. You see somebody carrying a baby, people slow down. You know, but even offer to help. Used to happen in institutions too. You go in a bank with a child, they would ask you to come quickly to help you because you understand the stresses and strain. Now, not so much. And this man was only identified as Ken. He was struck down by a speeding motorcyclist while crossing Saffron Street yesterday with his 2-month-old son in his arms. Can you imagine that, folks? That this is where we are. Wayne Kesnu, Rana Mingo, Veronica Primo Rollins, St. Romain Adams. This is where we are. 2-month-old baby in his arms. He got knocked down. I didn't see any reporting of fatalities there. Thanks be to God. Thanks be to God. Earlier English, knocked down with his 2-month-old baby in his arms. We're in a bad spot. We are in a bad spot. Very bad spot. Kyle, Rastaman, you think you understand the gravity of where we are? It's total madness and recklessness, mayhem and carnage on our streets. You stop to let somebody pass. You got to tell that person, take it easy. Because while you stop, you got on your hazard light. Somebody beating on the inside. Somebody beating on the outside. Coming through. They don't know why you stop. But they should have an appreciation for the hazard light you have on. No, not them. You have the traffic light. The second it says green. Pop, 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 pop. The second it says green. In any other country in the world, Lyndon Jones, Magnell Barrow, the pedestrian is at the apex of road user, of mobility. At the apex, people give way to pedestrian because you're in the car, you're in the motorcycle, you're in the truck. You can get to where you're going faster. Anyhow, people give way. to pedestrians. Not here. Pedestrian at the bottom. Guyana has one of the most dangerous roadways in the world. And I hope that Irfan Ali stop just playing lip service to this business. Stop playing lip service to it. And actually put systems in place. You got the range of power, you all win. Looking back every second, 2020 election, who did this? Who did that? You all in. You all in. You see, folks, they win. In politics, a win is a win. You cross your finish line, you win. You could rationalize how they got there, spoil ballots and unreconciled this and that, and let's deal with life as it is and not how we want it to be. They win, you're in. Make a difference now, Big Sahib. Chief, make a difference now with these policies. It's madness out there. You think it's finished there? Oh, that was the beginning of sorrows. Last night, there was an accident at Luzuknan on the public road. We saw a man, looks as though this accident resulted in a fatality, but we didn't get any reports of the name of the individual. But as we were on last night, talking about accidents on our road and waterways, Camille Cox, Urban Donko, Candy Lee Lyndon Gill, an accident at Luzuknan. It's the wild, wild west out there. Yeah. Slow down. We don't have a name. Well, folks sent this to us as soon as we were off air. An accident, Luzuknan Public Road. The sheer carnage out there, Edward Brooms. And I don't want us as a family to ever get accustomed to this, to ever get numb to it. It's just not an accident, it's Guyana. Don't ever let's get like that. Because that can be part of the problem. It must always be repulsive to us. It must always be unacceptable to us. This level of madness happening on our roads and waterways. Magna Barrow, what's the plan? What's the plan? So we had Saffron Street. We got the Luzuknan Public Road. All yesterday, these are some of the numbers we're looking at. Since the year has started, right, 4 dead in that horrific accident in Rhymeville. Courtland Public Road, we've had that. Right? The Harbour Bridge, number 9, BV Public Road, Sheriff Street, Denamstel, Heroes Highway, Port Kaituma, Windsor Forest, Dura, and the Linden Sussex Highway, and then the Luzuknan Public Road. You see that? A man and his babe, and we're only dealing with accidents you've had, fatalities out here. That's why we didn't stick in that one in Saffron Street. But how many accidents go unreported? Can you imagine that? We've already filled in this graphic here. We're going to get a second one. We're going to get a second one. We'll have to get a second graphic. Carnage on our roads and waterways. And we heard here from Ali at the beginning of the year. He promised us. He made promises. Be careful the resolutions you are making for the new year. You might be held responsible. Take a listen to what he said.
Carnage on our roads will be greeted with a robust road safety and traffic management plan. I intend to have a national conversation on this issue within the coming days. Out of that conversation, new laws, regulations, measures, and technology will be implemented to stop the carnage on our roads will be greeted with a robust road safety and traffic management plan. I intend to have a national conversation on this issue within the coming days. Out of that conversation, new laws, regulations, measures, and technology will be implemented to stop the carnage on our.
We may have had to ask which coming days for this robust traffic management plan. Which coming days? The coming days in February, March, April. Which coming days we can have this robust conversation? Siobhan, we still holding. Which coming days we can have it? Bellamona, Tracy Clark, Yolanda Thomas, be careful the promises you make, but you know the worth and the value. You know the currency of the promises coming out of the PUPC administration. You know that. Folks, smash that emoji button. We want others to get valid and credible information. Guys, slow down out there and let me arrive alive. Please and thank you. Slow down. Slow down. You know, one of the things with you guys, you all have gotten so you all have gotten so accustomed to our program. You take it for granted now. 15 stories we cover in an hour. And look at the work we do, keeping abreast with all these accidents that are happening, making a note so that we can say to you guys, please don't let's get complacent and taking off the board soon. It's not your time yet. Slow down. And let's arrive alive. And this is just January, you know. Look names on this dashboard. Look places. Look accident on this dashboard here. This is frightening and should be frightening to us. Repulsive to us as a country. Just January of the new year. We still got a day left. We still got a day and hours left. What will today bring? What tragedy? What malady? God forbid. Will today bring? What fires? What road accidents? We got to pray for this country. Somebody cross our country. You know, Gypsy sang this song, Trinidadian and Calypsonian. Somebody stealing the soul of a nation. Like it's really singing about Candy Lillian, Bernadette, Patricia, Kyle, and Lyndon. Like it's we, the great Calypsonian, was speaking about. Some of the other things we're following, folks. Look at this one. Look at this one. This is on the Lyndon Suzdike Highway. This is at Mora. Young man lost his life tragically. All right. Yep. Eric Williams is his name. Crashed into a container parked on the roadway last evening and lost his life. More on the Lyndon Suzdike Highway. The boy's out there. The mother milk still in his face. His mother milk still in his face. And now another family grieving. Another family got planned wake. We get dead. Another family got a planned funeral. Slow down. Slow down. I know in some spots that Lyndon Suzdike Highway can be very dark. And trucks who are going to be parked there got to have on a hazard light, got to got your cones out and all of that. I don't know what were the circumstances that prevailed last evening. I don't know. But report says that this truck was parked along the southern left-hand side of the road. Right? With no reflecting lights. Let me read as the report says. No reflecting light. Williams was riding when the trailer and died. Is just see life gone now? Is there going to be a deep investigation? Is there going to be compensation for this young life lost? Who knows? You know, what he could have been to our country. What solutions he could have brought to bear. Eric Williams, perhaps named after the late Trinidadian Prime Minister, Dr. Eric Williams. Gone. Gone. That's what's transpiring in this country. Aubrey Griffith, you see that? Right? Andrew says that the church very silent in these deadly matters in Guyana. I hope they're praying. Could be some silent prayers. I hope they're praying. Yeah. I just hope they're praying. I just hope they're praying. Leader of the parliamentary opposition, leader of the opposition, leader of the People's National Congress Reform, that wonderful party. He says that this foreign currency shortage should not be. You remember under the last government, we had a similar shortage. Oh, they lambaste us. Well, this prolonged shortage, the public sector says there's a grave shortage of foreign currency. The government pushes back. That's not so. GCCI know what they're talking about. Private sector commission don't know what they're talking about. You only don't know what you're talking about when it's negative. If there were praises to sow away the government, they accept that boldly. They accept that boldly. But Mr. Norton makes the point, Leader Norton makes the point, that this thing here should not be, when you look and see what's happening in the economy, as you all are saying, when you see all these things happening in the economy, they shouldn't be operating. Take a look at what he said last Friday during his presentation, his contribution to the budget in National Assembly. Take a look.
A major lifeblood of our economy is international trade. As a country that relies heavily on foreign trade, we must be concerned as to what the changes in our economy mean for the acquisition and distribution of foreign currency. The new concentration of our economy reveals that two industries, oil and gold, generated 94% of foreign exchange earnings in 2023. According to existing data, one can envisage oil exceeding the 90% share of foreign earnings that it was responsible for in 2023 in the not too distant future. While we bask as a country in the financial glow of the oil industry, one must wonder what role the current policy on the management and use of foreign generated earnings might be playing in determining access to foreign currency for the business community and the wider society. This is another issue not addressed in the budget. We believe it is important and incumbent on the government to manage the situation properly so that our local private sector can access foreign exchange to grow their businesses. If you like the local private sector, then you need to manage our foreign exchange sector so that they don't cry out. Shortage of foreign currency should not abound in a country where export revenues have grown by over 700% in less than 4 years. And its trade balance has shifted from a deficit in 2019 to a surplus of over US 6.5 billion in 2023. It hurts when the private sector keeps crying out that they don't have adequate resources. By blindly supporting the investment priorities of this government, private sector entities might be serving as the architect of their own inability to access foreign currency to conduct their business.
Yeah, you heard that? It hurts when the private sector cries out that they don't have the resources. The private sector says there is a grave foreign currency shortage. The administration pushes back. That's not so. Who do you believe? Forbes, who do you believe? Dolly Anderson, Andrew Griffith. These are real issues there. Right. Have you been trying to access foreign currency? What has been your experience? Everett Leonard, Dolly Anderson, what has been your experience? You've been trying to access this? Louis Evans, Sheena Hazel. Good morning to all the government ministers tuned in and watching us to see what's happening. You know, they join our program to see what's happening in the country as well. We love it. We love it. We love it. They ain't watching NCN. They're not locked in there. They're not watching anything. They're listening to nothing in the government radio station. You're locked in watching us to get a sense how the day is going. But that's the kind of program we created. The first 15 things, they want to know too. They want to know what has happened overnight. What's happening currently. They want to know too. Lois Levens, good to have you. Everett and Francis Light, Neon Harding, Siobhan McDonald. What's going on out there? Let's hasten to the end because we got to rush off to the National Assembly too. See what's happening on that side. We told about this last evening on our evening broadcast. Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley, and the U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, they met recently, and the talks there were about crime and security. You see, here is Dr. Keith Rowley trying to move his country forward. That's what you got to do as a leader. Move the country forward. Energy came up, commerce came up, cybersecurity came up as well. And Secretary Blinken said that the meetings will engage, underscore the meetings that they have engaged in, underscore the strength of the diplomatic ties between the U.S. and Trinidad and Tobago. He went on to say, this is the U.S. Secretary of State, that crime in the Caribbean, including TNT, remains an issue both countries are committed to addressing. Right? He said, we're partnering as well to fight violent crimes and firearm trafficking. Yep, too many guns out there. Too many guns out there. And that's part of what the U.S. Secretary of State said in response to what was the content of that meeting. What was the content of that meeting? Yeah, so what we're following, folks. And we're learning that, Shamar Joseph, who performed so brilliantly against the Australians quite recently, is going to be out of the ILT 20, folks. He's going to be out. Yep, he has a toe injury, they're telling us. And this was a toe injury picked up during this Gabble test where he shone so brightly and did us all proud. Right? According to reports we have, scans have showed no fracture. Right? Scans have shown no fracture thus far, but they said he battled pain on the 4th day to produce one of the greatest spells in test history. Right? Oh, he wrecked them up. he wrecked them up proper there in Australia. Well, wish him a speedy recovery, nonetheless. A speedy recovery, nonetheless, so that we can continue to watch his career soar. Yeah, that's what's happening at that end, folks. 15 things. Here's a story now. I didn't know sure this one was coming. Ali says that the bauxite industry, the labor force went down by 50% under the APNU AFC. 50%. I don't understand why they would say this, because you got to come with something after the facts were presented in the National Assembly, how the non-oil sectors are going down. And you heard, if you joined our program from the start, Vorlan Lawrence talk about how we're becoming an oil economy because we have become an oil economy because we are relying so heavily on oil. It's causing all boats to float in the non-oil sector. So he has to come now to say, oh, the workforce. This is the propaganda. In the bauxite industry, down. Basically, the last government didn't like its own supporters in places like Linden, where bauxite is produced. Half the workforce went down. Why is he saying this? Recently, we learned that bauxite is one of those industries not producing. And we know it's not producing because when we look at the foreign earnings for bauxite compared with the period under the coalition government, the last administration, those earnings are down unless they're stockpiling bauxite. The numbers are down in terms of foreign earning. And Shadow Finance Minister, Drew Finance, brought out this point in her contribution to Budget 2024. And not only did she focus on bauxite, she focused on a number of other sectors in which the foreign exchange earnings are down. So as she's saying they've been expanded under their stewardship. Air Finale by extension, saying they've expanded under their stewardship. But when you look at the numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie. When you look at the numbers, a different story, Wenda and Sabina, a different story is being painted, Siobhan and Yasmin, Yolanda, a different story. Here the Shadow Minister of Finance attacking sector by sectors what has been happening in relation to foreign earnings. Take a look, guys, and take a listen. She also deals with the overdraft. The overdraft issue, and then broadly at how the non-oil sector is doing. Take a look.
Bauxite now, sir. It was reported that the bauxite mining industry has contracted by 20.4% in 2023. In 2023, the bauxite mining industry's foreign earnings was $79.6 million US. But when compared again, sir, to 2019, foreign earnings of bauxite was 127, declined by $47.5 million US under the PPP administration. The forestry sector is reported to have expanded by 5.4% in 2023. Yet in 2023, the foreign earnings from the timber sector was $20.5 million US compared to $33.7 million US in 2019 under the APN-UAFC coalition, a difference, sir, of $13.9 million. Gold. The gold mining industry reported a contraction of 11.2% in 2023, resulting in the foreign earnings for gold being $808.6 million in 2023. In contrast, sir, in 2019, the foreign earnings from gold was $876.6 million US. In short, the PPP is reporting that under their stewardship, the gold mining industry brought in $68 million US less than the APN-UAFC brought in 2019. Those are the facts. Right, sir. During the budget presentation, we learned that the rice sector expanded by 8%. In 2023, the foreign earnings from rice was $211.7 million US, while in 2019, the foreign earnings from rice was $222.9 million US. Again, sir, a decrease now of $11.2 million US in the rice sector. Shrimp production was reported to have expanded by 61.1% in 2023. Anyone listening to this report from the Honorable Member Ashley Singh would think that the shrimp sector is doing better under the PPP than it was under the APN-UAFC administration. But again, far from accurate. In 2023, the foreign earnings from shrimp was $61.7 million US. And in 2019, wait for it, in 2019, it was $76.3 million US. Under the PPP, in 2023, the foreign earnings from shrimp was $14.6 million US less than it was during the coalition's last full year in office in 2019. Those are the factual numbers. It was reported that the sugar growing sector is estimated to have grown by 28% in 2023. Sounds good, right? In 2019, the foreign earnings from sugar was $27.7 million US, while in 2023, the foreign earnings from sugar was $24.9 million US. $2.8 million US less was received in 2020 under the PPP stewardship than was received in 2019 under the APN-UAFC administration. Those are the facts. Mr. Speaker, those 6 sectors under the APN-UAFC administration in 2019 brought in $158 million or $32.9 billion Guyana dollars more than the PPP did in 2023. The PPP is mismanaging these important sectors as they focus heavily on oil. And they are racing forward in the direction of the Dutch disease, and they don't like us to speak about that sort. Prudent management of the economy was well established under the APN-UAFC administration. You cannot come to this house and dispute those factual numbers, sir. We must look at the overdraft, sir. it is extremely important to look at the overdraft. The PPP continues to be dishonest about the overdraft, and more particularly, the overdraft that they inherited. This is the third budget, sir, that was presented in this House, in which the Honorable Member, Mr. Ashley Singh, dishonestly stated that the domestic debt
Okay. 3 times I could have interrupted you, but you have to right now, you have to withdraw dishonest. You're imputing.
the
Right.
ingenious would suffice, sir.
So go ahead, let's get your presentations going good so far.
Thank you, sir. He's economical with the truth, sir. Sir, the budget stated, and I quote, the growth of domestic debt service payments was due to a full year's worth of principal repayments on debentures issued in 2021 to securitize an inherited overdraft at the central bank. End of quote. Mr. Speaker, the honorable member Ashley Singh uses the word inherited because he wants to convey an image that the coalition did not know how to manage the resources of the nation. But allow me, sir, to give some clarity and bring truth to light on this matter. Mr. Speaker, it was in this very House the Honorable Ashley Singh was asked what was the overdraft the 2nd of August 2020 when the PPP took office. And he responded and said, and I quote, the end of December 2020 overdraft balance $116.6 billion on the consolidated fund account represents a deterioration of $47.9 billion compared to the 2nd of August 2020 overdraft of $78.7 billion. End of quote. Mr. Speaker, the APNUAFC coalition had an accumulated overdraft of $78.7 billion over 5 years. The PPP government, sir, racked up an overdraft of $47.9 billion in their first 5 months in office. But that doesn't end there, sir. The domestic debt repayment that Dr. Singh, honorable member, is referring to speaks to an overdraft of $200 billion because the PPP, sir, further racked up the overdraft. And on the 28th of May, 2021, they issued $200 billion of debentures to cover this overdraft. So in 9 months of the PPP being in office, they were responsible for an overdraft of $221.3 billion. So the PPP can't come here in this House and speak about an inherited overdraft, sir, when they are responsible for $121.3 billion in overdraft in a 9-month period, sir. Those are the facts.
Welcome back, folks. That was the Shadow Minister of Finance, Rita Finance. Talk about beat and teach. Talk about beat and teach out there. Those are the facts. Up to AFC facts versus the PPP fiction. The fiction that under the last administration, labor force in bauxite production diminished by 50%. Well, how your production looking at the whole? How your production looking on the whole? You see? Valid, credible information. This is why we ask that you guys partner with us, because we want to go on digging down, drilling down. Valid, credible information all the time. That's why we ask you guys to share the live as well, because we want others to receive the valid, credible information we have as well. Right? The fastest startup you got. The fastest side hustle you could initiate. You know, it's narcotics trade in this country. We saw a man quite recently got 6 months for his part in trying to traffic narcotics. He was caught, they say, with 30 grams of cannabis. The ones carrying 2 tons of cocaine to Belgium and 40 pounds of cocaine and shrimp. They walk in free. But if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. Ronald Remney, King Street, New Amsterdam. You can't do the time, don't do the crime. Fastest side hustle, but it got a lot of consequence. It has a lot of consequence. See, you remember those kitchen coops? We saw members of the public call them. Well, they got some new owners now. The government said they've handed out 30 houses. So 30 persons got one of these houses that they run along the Heroes Highway there close to the Diamond Roundabout. And 30 folks who once occupied the East Bank Sidam, squatting there. 30 of them got homes. And no doubt they're going to be thankful because something is better than nothing. But I'm certain if they had a chance at something better, they'd go for it. Folks call these chicken coops. Some folks said because they're made primarily of zinc, how hot it's going to be. It is what it is. It is what it is. You know, some other squatters are mowed down violently, and some, they come quietly and say, take this, take that. In this one, Guyana. Police say they're getting some more vehicles for crime fighting this year. Right? Hope you all patrol on those streets more. We're happy for them. Happy for them. The UNC in Trinidad says that a lot of the hospitals the government is building, this is United National Congress, they are in opposition in Trinidad and Tobago, led by former Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar. So lots of these hospitals are white elephants. That's part of the argument that the opposition is making there in Trinidad. They're nothing but white elephants. That's what they're saying. Nothing but white elephants. And here's why they're saying that. They say the hospitals lack adequate staff, information technology systems. They lack drugs. They lack equipment. They lack the facilities to function properly. These are the allegations being put there by the UNC in Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah. So when you hear people building 10 hospitals and they're building this and that, that's only started. The functioning of the thing will be quite different. Going to be quite different. Because the PLM government saying the same thing. We're building hospitals, we're building this. But on scrutiny, the opposition is saying they lack adequate staff and IT systems, drugs, equipment, and facilities. The white elephants, like the Skeleton Sugar Factory. Folks, you know what happened a few days ago in Jordan with the killing of those 3 U.S. servicemen? Pundits are saying Biden's response is going to be decisive, it's going to be powerful. And yet we see others saying, tempering down that a little bit, saying, U.S. does not want to risk an all-out war this time with Iran. So they're going to be measured, even though that response in retaliation for the killing of 3 U.S. soldiers is going to be powerful. They're going to try as much as possible not to get into total conflict with Iran at this point. And while we're on that, we saw some information suggesting that U.S. weapons exports have hit an all-time high, a record high, selling so much arms and ammunition to the rest of the world. Yeah. War is big business. Oh, you didn't know that? Conflict is big business. Cha-ching, cha-ching. Poor people, citizens around the world suffering as a result of these conflicts. People making big money. Arms exports in the U.S. hit an all-time high. Just bear it in mind. War is big business. Big business. Now, the president of Suriname His government is embroiled in some corruption scandals there. Yep. Chandrika Prasad Santokhi, his administration is embroiled in a lot of scandals and charges of corruption. It seems that birds of identical plumage assemble together in close proximity. Corruption, friends, family favorites, and flatterers and fawners. Those are the charges being laid at the feet of the Santokhi administration. And one of the publications in Suriname carried the president's photograph, and he's been pleading with them to remove his photograph. He was saying, budging. Don't come around with funny. I ain't budging. That's what the folks are saying. Birds of identical plumage. Some together in close proximity. And we're reflecting on some of what came out of the Maduro administration in terms of their resource exploitation measures. Remember they said they now go in and look for oil in our waters and rebuffing those companies that are mining there. You know, we've taken our eyes off of this issue. And it's going to be to our detriment. We heard the same thing here when Ali said about the carriage on our roads, about this plan to educate and grand plan. We heard all of that. An approach to be taken with concerns educating Guyanese about our territorial sovereignty. But all the finish, you know. Fluff and bluff. Fluff and bluff. That is what this administration seems to be good at. Fluff and bluff. You see, remember they told us that the provision for authorization to state-owned oil and gas company of Venezuela to establish divisions for the disputed territory, all of that is still ongoing. The granting of licenses for oil, gas, and mineral exploration and exploitation in our EEZ, Exclusive Economic Zone, all that the Venezuelans are still going forward with. But we're not educating our folks. You see, we got to do different. We got the resource now, more than ever before. The mobilization of the Venezuelan National Assembly to enact law creating the Guyana Essequiba, a state in the disputed territory, all of that they're moving forward with. And the appointment of a provisional Venezuelan administration over the disputed territory. We went ahead with that. And we seem to have put this whole issue on the back burner. But we said that they were clear and present danger, an existential threat. We seem to have forgotten that. We seem to have forgotten that. We take our eyes off the ball at our own expense. And we forget Sue either. Anybody forget Sue in the living room? No. We ain't going to forget Sue. Folks, that's going to do it for us. At this end, the scrutiny of the national estimates commenced in the National Assembly today. We want to direct your attention to that as we head off to focus line by line. What all this money going towards? It's $1.146 trillion. What is it going towards? What's it going towards? Folks, you're heading into the city this morning to transact some business. You got some documentation needs. I want to recommend the Alistair Collins firm. You need a good justice of the peace, a good commission of oaths to affidavits. I won't recommend the Alistair Collins firm. I won't recommend them. Right there in Lamaha Street on the ground floor of the Carrion Mall, between Camp and Waterloo Streets, 649-6410. Get them on that number, 649-6410, 685-6448, 685-6448. You can get them on that number as well. Carrion Mall on the ground floor between Camp and Waterloo Street. Waterloo Streets on Lamaha Street. And folks, as we go, we want to encourage you as well to keep us moving ahead for more programs like these. Why don't you consider partnering with us? We don't tell you how much to contribute to our program, how much to donate to our program. We leave it all up to you, knowing your $1.146 trillion budget in your pocket. We're available via Cash App and Zelle and PayPal. MMG, MoneyGram and Western Union as well, folks. And we have that feature where we can accept your credit and debit cards now, and you should see that link flitting by you at any given moment. We can accept your credit and debit cards. This is how we've gone on for 3+ years now, thanks to your love, your support, and to your generosity. Folks, as I said, that's going to do it for us. So listen, until. Good, folks, until our next podcast. Take good care. That's all from this end. Take good care. Petal and Glenford Gordon, Wenda and Lyndon Gill, Debbie, have a blessed day. Have a blessed day, as Debbie says. Have a blessed day. We're going to see you guys in the next one. Stay safe.